But I will watch the Super Bowl.
Well, speaking of Super Bowl, Kendrick Lamar is performing this year.
Okay, yeah, so we know that Kendrick's performing. I love Kendrick. I'm a huge Kendrick fan. But what do we think about the controversy surrounding the Super Bowl halftime show? You know, the news that came out,
And
confirmed by Jesse Collins, who produces the Super Bowl halftime show, that Jay-Z is the person that picks the halftime performer. He said it. He said that's Jay-Z's job. And there was speculation, right? But so what do we think about this? Because
but did he say? I saw that interview he did, right?
Who?
Jesse Collins.
Jesse Collins did the interview, right?
But it is assumed that Jay-Z is the one who picks the artist, but we don't know if Jay is solely the person that picks the artist.
Well, there's always a committee, right? But he's the Don Dada. He's the one who's making the decision.
I think that what people don't understand, and I deal with this at Summer Jam. Some people always say, "Oh, TT picks the acts." I put a list of potential performers in front of a committee of people who decides who performs.
Can you veto the performance of the performers?
No.
You can't veto if somebody up there is like on the Summer Jam list and you're like, they ain't really popping, and they was real mean when they came to the station last week. Like, you can't veto it?
Next question.
Okay. So we know Jay-Z can veto it.
You think so?
Jesse Collins said it. He said it. He's like, that's Jay-Z's thing. And for me, when the artists, were saying what they needed to say, right? When Lil Wayne posted his video where he said how disappointed he was to not be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show since it's in New Orleans. That's his city. And by the way, Wayne's a great performer. I will say that. I saw him at that Hip Hop 50th concert at Yankee Stadium last year. He was great.
I mean, he definitely has the catalog, right?
Yeah.
And the level of artists he could have bought out are super A-list. Drake alone, Nicki Minaj.
Absolutely.
The Hot Boys.
Absolutely.
He has
a point.
He has a point, but at the same time,
yep.
You cannot deny that Kendrick is as equal of a superstar as Lil Wayne.
And Kendrick is more timely right now. So I understand the decision. Kendrick is like definitely on my list of like most played artists in my Apple Music. But do I really need to hear Not Like Us at the halftime show? That's crazy.
If that even happens, if I'm Drake's people, I'm not letting him call me a pedophile at the Super Bowl. I'm sending all type of paperwork. I'm sending all type of paperwork. Right? Like, I'm not letting that happen.
They are doing that song at the Super Bowl. It was probably put in the contract. It's probably there.
I'm sending all types of paperwork if I'm Drake.
It was like the biggest record last year.
Who started the rumor that Drake was offered to perform at the Super Bowl multiple times and he denied?
I don't know where that came from. I don't know where that came from.
I don't know if that was Elliot or Mari. What's the partner, the guy that does the podcasting, Rory and
Rory Moore?
Rory Moore? Yeah, Mari.
Shout out to Rory and Moore. I love them. I love you guys.
Who said that? Because then I saw the NFL came out and said something to the effect that they never offered Drake the opportunity, so that was lies. So I'm like, where did that come from?
Because podcasts be just starting shit. Podcasts be just starting.
Where did that come from?
You just start a narrative online and it just goes. It takes off and there's no confirmation. It's interesting that they actually spoke out against it, that they said, no, that's not true. That's interesting. I say that all. But Titi, you're leaning away from this conversation about Jay-Z. You're leaning away.
I'm not leaning away.
Jay picked Kendrick. Acknowledge that.
But there's nothing wrong with Jay picking Kendrick.
I'm not saying there is. I just want to talk about all of the controversy between Jay, Wayne, Birdman, Cash Money, Young Money, whatever.
Is there beef?
Like, there's something. There is something there.
How can there be beef?
I don't say there's beef, but they got a problem. They got a problem. They felt like Jay was supposed to give them that. They felt like that's ours. This is our city, New Orleans. They felt like Jay was supposed to give them that.
But why? Why do you feel entitled to something?
I mean, I get the entitlement argument, but I get it. It's their city.
But
it's their city.
Not everybody.
Wayne's a pretty big artist.
But not everybody gets to perform at the Super Bowl when it's in their
not
city.
everybody. And I do, again, I want to see Kendrick, right? I love Kendrick, and I understand the decision, and I think it was the right decision. I do. But if I'm Lil Wayne, and I'm from New Orleans, and New Orleans is my city, and the Super Bowl is coming, and I think you're my friend, let's be real. We're talking about the entertainment industry and how things work, right? If you're my friend, or I think you're my friend, I'm like, oh, Super Bowl's coming to New Orleans. He gonna put me on, right? It's Lil Wayne. It's not like we just talked last episode about Hurricane Chris. It's not like it's like you're going to, Shreveport and no. You're going to New Orleans, and if you're my friend,
but what else
thinking
was
that I'm performing at Super Bowl?
But what else was the deciding factor? What else was the deciding factor? That's something we don't know. We don't know.
We don't, but we do know this. We know that Kendrick and Drake had one of the biggest battles in rap history.
So you think that's the reason why Jay chose Kendrick?
I didn't say that. I think Jay made the right business decision. I do think that Kendrick is the right choice based on the year that he's had. But if I'm Lil Wayne, Cash Money, Young Money, Money, whatever, I'm going to say, you're coming to my city. If you're my friend, then you pick me. It's almost like they're thinking Jay's picking a side, right? Because Jay would never say anything.
Well, based on what Birdman and Nicki Minaj inserted into the conversation, you would assume that there's a problem there. But in an interview, I saw Jay-Z say that he had respect for Birdman.
Of course he does.
And when he wanted to sign Wayne, out of respect for
Of course
Birdman,
he does.
he called.
But you're not hearing my point.
The point is null and void, in my opinion.
You're not hearing my point.
Because
it was the best business decision. Jay-Z made the best business decision. He is a businessman.
Yeah.
And he has showed us time and time again that the bottom line for him is money. But if you're in hip-hop, and that's my man's, and you come to my city, I would think you're picking me.
Well,
that was a realization for them. The rest of us, maybe we know and we understand. But that was there, and there's a sense of entitlement there for sure, because that's what happens in hip-hop. I'm not saying there's not. You don't just get to perform just because that's your friend, right? But if you're under the belief that someone got your back, you probably expected that to come your way. And guess what? It didn't, because he made the right business decision for his pockets.
And I think that is... And I understand why Wayne feels disappointed, because you're talking about someone who has catalog. You're talking about someone who has a fan base that is diverse. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you cannot go wrong with a Kendrick Lamar.
No.
Kendrick Lamar obviously dropped the record after it was announced that he was performing at the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Folks are saying on the internet that he was still taking shots at Drake. I don't think he was taking shots at Drake. I think he was taking shots at the whole entire industry.
Right.
I think he's frustrated with how media is going and how we just spoke about this. A lot of people now who has a microphone say all types of salacious stuff, how just in general the industry is going. I think it's so far out there now, you can't really reel it back in, Kendrick. You just kind of move in this space. how you move.
Right.
I think it's so far gone. You can't reel this back in.
I know, and I think I agree with the choice to have Kendrick perform. Again, I do think it's kind of like undeniable. You're looking at a bigger audience, bigger than hip hop. This is the Super Bowl, right? And Kendrick had an incredible year. But when you turn on that Super Bowl, you're going to hear bim, 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 it.
How do we get back there? We were talking about
because
why
it's about dissing Drake.
It's
not
about
Super Bowl,
dissing Drake.
and
it's not. You're making it about dissing Drake. It's not about dissing Drake. And by the way,
but that song is, and that's the big. That song is. It's the biggest song. One of the biggest diss records ever.
So you think Jay-Z intentionally booked Kendrick Lamar to perform at the Super Bowl to diss Drake?
No, I don't think he did that. No.
So why are you going back there?
I think that he was very aware of the fact that the #1 Kendrick song last year was a song calling Drake a pedophile, dissing Drake, and he didn't care because it was about his bottom line, and he put Kendrick on that stage, on that Super Bowl stage, and we're gonna hear.
Let's move on from this.